This is very interesting, that he will always let you know what is him and what's not, because he's put a hedge in you. Ask your neighbor, said, have you noticed your hedge of protection? That's the barrier in which you can't do certain things. That's the thing that you are so convicted about that you can't do. You can't say certain things. You can't go certain ways. Why? Because God has put a hedge of protection around you. Here, when we look at this, we need to look at this, that God dug a wine press in you.
Go ahead now.
What do you mean? This was a trough or a vat into which the wine was pressed. So certain things that you have to go through, God first have to go through you with a press of his word. So he started pressing his word until his word is digestible in your heart and in your mind, where you start walking in the confines of what the press of the word is pressing upon you. This is very interesting, that he's telling you that the trough was something and sometime dug in a rock. The reason why the rock, he said, upon this rock I shall build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. So see, God has to press you on the rock that he established his salvation on. This is very interesting, that sometime it's built out of wood. He always have to have some wood around that would remind you of the tree that was in the garden, the tree of life, that you got to always remember that you are a life giver. You got the power of life and death in your tongue. It's up to you whether you exercise the opportunity of spreading life or spreading death. Here, this is very interesting, that this trough stands for the equipment which God provides to get his work done. Now I'm about to share something with you. If we was to take all these material things that are being said and put spiritual connotation to it, you will start understanding that God has put a strong tower in you. You got a wall up in you. You got a fortress in you. Look at this. This is something very interesting, that God built a tower in you, so you will be able to look over your situation. You will be able to look over your sorrow. You will be able to look over your disappointment and be able to know what animal is traveling with that. Wait a minute. What do you mean? That it was a watchtower. See, you have to pray and watch. You got to keep your eyes open while you praying. Why? Because you never know what's trying to creep over your hedge. Creep over your kindness. Creep over your gentleness. Creep over your love. Keep over your caring. Keep on. Help me up in here. High five your neighbor. Said, I see you.
I see you.
Here, when we look at this, it was the watchtower used to guard and protect the vineyard from the thieves. You got to watch who's trying to get in there where your wine is, where you being pressed at, where you are changing at, where you are being developed at, so it don't switch and
I know that's right.
tell your neighbor, I gotta watch because I'm being pressed now. I gotta watch now. Why? Because I'm going through. I gotta watch now that I don't get overcome. I gotta watch now. Why? Because I'm in a vulnerable state right now, because I'm being pressed.
That's what it is.
No. Look at this. That the tower stands for the assurance and the security of God's care. He watched and gave to his cultivators. You got to learn how to cultivate what you got. You got to stop looking at somebody else's backyard and how God has favored somebody else and blessed somebody else. Look in your own backyard. Look in your own vineyard. Look in your own field. What has God cultivated in you? You got to look for yourself. Here, look at this.
I know that's right.
This gracious. God is gracious. I don't know if you can say it with me. God is gracious.
God is gracious.
God is gracious.
God is gracious.
Now